The day I was fired, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled at my boss and said, "Check your email." Carol Jennings sat behind her desk, the mid-morning Austin sun slicing through the blinds and catching the edge of her coffee mug. She had called me in at 9 sharp. I knew it wasn't a good sign when she closed the door behind me. Carol never closed the door. "Maya, have a seat," she said. She didn't look at me. She shuffled papers, avoiding eye contact like they were radioactive. I sat. I folded my hands in my lap, the way you do when you know bad news is coming and you refuse to give them the satisfaction of squirming. "We're restructuring," she said. "Your performance has been slipping. We have to make some hard decisions." I didn't say anything. She finally looked up, and I saw it. The flicker of discomfort. I had spent 6 years at Brightline Creative. I had landed the biggest clients. I had built the rebranding strategy for Nexitech from nothing. 6 months of research and late nights and early mornings. And now she was telling me my performance was slipping. I kept my voice flat. "Is that what Dana told you?" Carol's jaw tightened. "Dana has nothing to do with this." "Dana sent the final deck to your inbox at 7:58 in the morning," I said, 2 minutes before the meeting, with a note saying she pulled an all-nighter. "You praised her in front of the entire team." Carol's face went still. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. 6 months of work. My initial concept, my market research, my interviews with focus groups. Every chart, every slide, every recommendation was mine. And Dana, who had barely touched the project since we started, stood in that meeting and owned it. She stood there with that bright, performative smile and said, "I worked so hard on this." I couldn't sleep until it was perfect. I watched my project get applauded under her name. I watched Carol beam like a proud mother, and I sat there, sidelined, told to support Dana, to help her. That Monday morning felt like swallowing glass. By Friday, things were worse. Dana was strutting around the office with the title everyone was calling her, Senior Strategy Lead. Her salary went from $62,000 a year to $77,000. I later saw the HR paperwork. But the real bomb dropped on the following Monday, March 22nd. That's when Carol called me into her office. That's when she fired me. "We've appreciated your contributions, Maya," she said. She pushed an envelope across the desk. "That's 2 weeks severance plus your unused vacation time, $12,000. I picked up the envelope. $40 of weight in my hand, carrying the end of my career at Brightline. And that's when I smiled. I stood. I tucked the envelope into my bag. I looked at Carol, a woman I had respected for years, who had folded the moment Dana whispered sweet nothings in her ear. Her inbox pinged as I opened the door. "What did you send me?" she asked, her hand already hovering over the mouse. "I sent you a link," I said. "A link to what?" I paused at the doorway. "Project Phoenix," I said, "the original files." Her face went pale. I didn't wait for a response. I walked out of her office, down the hallway lined with framed awards, past Elena's desk where she gave me a silent, worried look. I stepped out into the warmth of the parking lot. I didn't look back. When I got to my car, I buckled my seatbelt and sat for a moment. My hands were steady. My heart was calm. Carol Jennings had no idea what was sitting in that spreadsheet. She didn't know about the version history. She didn't know about the timestamps on every draft. She didn't know that folder contained 6 months of proof showing exactly when my project became Dana's. But she would. And if this story moves you, consider subscribing to Revenger for more stories of quiet justice. I drove away from Brightline Creative with no job, no title, and a $12,000 envelope in my bag. But I had something Carol didn't have. I had the receipts. The morning of March 15th started like any other Monday. I was at my desk by 7:15, coffee in hand, making final tweaks to the Nexitech rebranding deck. 6 months of work, research, interviews, stakeholder surveys, 3 rounds of creative direction. Every slide was a piece of me. At 7:40, I saved my final draft to the shared drive. I wrote the version number in the file name. V14. I always did that. Habit from years of managing projects. That habit was about to save my career. The team meeting was scheduled for 8 o'clock. I gathered my notes and walked toward the conference room. The glass walls were frosted halfway up. Through the top, I could see Carol already seated at the head of the table. Dana was there too. She was standing, smiling, holding a printed deck in her hands. I remember thinking that was odd. Dana never printed anything. She said paper was wasteful. I took my usual seat near the window. Elena was across from me. She gave me a small wave. Carol looked up. She was beaming. I had seen that smile before whenever a big win landed. "Team," Carol said, "before we begin, I have some exciting news." Dana stepped forward. She had a grin so wide I could see her back teeth. "I pulled an all-nighter last night," Dana said. Her voice was bright and breathless. "I wanted to get it perfect. The Nexatech rebranding strategy. It's done." My coffee cup stopped halfway to my lips. I stared at her. She was holding my deck, my slides, my research, my 6 months of work. But it was in her hands, with her name on the cover page. I saw it in bold type. Dana Whitfield. "I know the timeline was aggressive," Dana continued, "but I felt like I owed you all a knockout. So I worked straight through the night." She flipped to the first slide. My first slide, the opening I had rewritten 11 times. "The positioning strategy focuses on vertical integration," she said. "I built it around 3 pillars. She used my words. Exact wording, from the file I had saved into the shared drive at 7:40 in the morning. Carol nodded slowly. Then she clapped, first soft, then louder and louder. "This is exceptional work, Dana," Carol said. "Truly exceptional." The rest of the team joined in, a chorus of applause. My applause too, because what else could I do? I was still trying to process what I was seeing. Dana took a bow. She actually took a bow. "I'm so proud of this," she said. "I feel like it's the best work I've ever done for Brightline." Carol turned to the whiteboard. She wrote Dana's name at the top, then underneath it the words, "Senior Lead." "This project now has a new leader," Carol said. "Dana, I'm putting you in charge of the client relationship. You've earned it." She looked around the room, then her eyes landed on me for a full 2 seconds. "Maya, I want you to support Dana on this," Carol said. "Your project management skills can really help her navigate the client meetings." The room went quiet. Elena's fork hit her plate louder than necessary. I looked at Dana. She was still smiling, but her eyes met mine, and there was something in them. A flicker. Then it was gone. "Of course, Carol," I said. My voice came out flat. "I'll do whatever you need." "That's the team spirit that built this office," Carol said. She motioned to Dana. "Walk me through the research methodology section. I want to see how you got the client trust scores." Dana froze. "Just for a second. The research," she said. "Right. Let me walk you through it." She flipped to the next slide. "My methodology slide." She read directly from my bullet points. I watched her. I watched the way her hands moved across my work, the way she presented my findings as her own. She skipped a few slides. I could tell she hadn't read the appendix. That was fine. The research was dense. 6 months of iteration lived in those pages. After the meeting, Elena caught me at the coffee station. "You okay?" she asked, her voice low. "I'm fine," I said. "Maya, that was your work. I saw the file on the shared drive. I know Dana didn't do that." "Thanks, Elena." She put her hand on my arm. "What are you going to do?" I filled my mug. Black, with 2 sugars. Dana's mug sat nearby. She had started ordering the same thing last month. I noticed the coincidence then. "I don't know yet," I said, but I already had an idea. A small, quiet thought forming in the back of my mind. Because I saved my work. Every version. Every draft. I had kept them all. Time-stamped by the system. I knew exactly when Dana had touched that file, because the version history would show it. Her name would appear on the final save, sure. But mine would be on too many entries before it. I didn't confront anyone then. I didn't make a scene. I just walked back to my desk, opened the shared drive, and started looking. What did I find? The version history was still there. Every single draft, every save, every keystroke logged by the system. I pulled up the file list for Project Phoenix and stared at the screen. V1, saved at 11,003 a.m. on September 9th. V2, September 12th. V3, September 14th. All mine, all time-stamped with my name. Dana's first touch came much later. I checked the date. February 20th. That was the day she asked me to look over a few ideas with her. I thought she was being friendly. She was planting her flag. I didn't have the technical access to pull the full audit trail myself. So the next morning, I walked over to Marcus Chen's desk in IT. He was the quiet type, Never gossiped, never complained, just did his job and went home. I trusted him more than anyone in that building. "Marcus," I said, keeping my voice low, "I need to see the complete version history on the Nexitech project files." He looked up from his monitor. His eyes met mine, and I could tell he already knew something was wrong. "Word traveled fast in that office. You know I can see who's accessed what, right?" he said. "I'm counting on it." He typed for a minute, then turned his screen toward me. It was worse than I thought. The file's evolution was crystal clear. Paragraphs added by me, refined by me, reworked by me. Mary's typo fixes, Amit's data charts, Elena's design comps. And then, on March 14th at 11,047 at night, Dana's name appeared. She had opened V14, changed the title slide to her name, and saved it as a brand new file. That became the final version. 11 minutes before the meeting, she sent it to Carol. I copied the entire audit trail onto a USB drive Marcus handed me without a word. Then I loaded it onto my personal laptop at home, because I knew the company could revoke my access at any second. That was another thing. I started noticing patterns everywhere. Small things I'd brushed off for months suddenly snapped into focus. The coffee. I had ordered black with 2 sugars for years. Dana used to drink caramel lattes. Then one day, I saw her in the break room, pouring 2 sugar packets into a black coffee. I laughed it off. People change, right? But it wasn't just coffee. She started using my phrases in meetings. "Let's focus on the user journey. We need to sell the outcome, not the process." I'd said those exact words dozens of times. Hearing them come out of her mouth felt like watching someone wear your clothes. Elena noticed too. She pulled me aside one afternoon and told me about a meeting I had missed. Dana had presented a timeline of next steps for the Nexitech pitch. I was stunned because it was my timeline. My exact milestones, my exact dates. She had redrawn it on a whiteboard like she'd thought of it that morning. "She wrote your name down as the driver," Elena said. Then she told Carol she'd be the one presenting. I didn't say anything. I just started a new folder on my laptop. Email chains, meeting notes, project briefs, any document that had my name on it and hers. I named the folder Project Phoenix Original Files. It felt right. Something had to rise from this ashes. I worked nights for a week, not secretively, not in hiding, just calmly, systematically. I drafted a complete timeline of the project's evolution, from my first concept memo to the final deck. I cross-referenced the timestamps with meeting records. I even kept a spreadsheet of every time Dana took credit for work that wasn't hers, 6 separate incidents going back 4 months. The evidence was overwhelming. I had the receipts, literally. Every revision marked with my name, every email chain where I asked follow-up questions, refined the strategy, pushed the team forward. Dana's contribution to the project was a single save, a cut-and-paste job. I never confronted her. I never confronted anyone. I just kept my head down, kept working, kept smiling in team meetings while she basked in Carol's praise. I had the evidence, but I didn't know when or how to use it. Then Dana got promoted. The promotion email landed at 9014 on Monday morning, March 22nd. 1 week to the day after Dana had presented my work as her own. 1 week of me watching her glow under Carol's approval. 1 week of me keeping my mouth shut. The email went out to the entire company. Subject line, "Congratulations, Dana." I read it twice. Senior Strategy Lead. A salary bump from $62,000 to $77,000. And her new first priority, the Nexitech client relationship. The one I had been building 6 months. The one that was my work that she had stolen. Carol had not even sent me a heads up. I found out the same moment the receptionist did. I was still looking at the screen when Carol's assistant walked over. "Carol wants to see you," she said. "Now." I remember thinking, finally, maybe someone will say something. Maybe Carol is calling me into her office to ask why Project Phoenix suddenly had Dana's name on it. Maybe she wants to hear the truth. I straightened my blouse. I grabbed my notebook. I walked into her office at 10,003, and the look on her face told me everything I needed to know. This was not a question meeting. This was a goodbye. "Maya, sit down," Carol said. She didn't smile. She had her hands folded on the desk, the way she does when she is about to deliver bad news. She has a tell. She rubs her left thumb across her knuckles. She was doing it. "I'm going to be direct with you," she said. "Your performance has been slipping. The team has noticed. I've noticed." I said nothing. "Given the restructuring," she continued, "we're going to need to let you go, effective immediately." I did not cry. I did not scream. I just looked at her, and I thought about the 1,000 hours I had put into that company, the clients I had landed, the projects I had carried, and I thought about Dana, the one who did nothing but skim the surface. "Carol," I said, my voice even, "is this about the Nexatech project?" She flinched, just barely, a tiny twitch in her jaw. "This is about performance," she said. I nodded. "So Dana gets promoted because of her performance, and I get fired because mine is slipping." "Your work has been slipping," she said again. "It has nothing to do with Dana." There it was. She looked me straight in the eye and lied. The woman I had respected for 6 years. The mentor who had trusted me with her biggest clients. She picked the charismatic one, the one who dazzled her in meetings, the one who had simply copied my work and added her own name. "I have a severance package for you," Carol said. She slid a white envelope across the desk. 2 weeks' pay plus your unused vacation, $12,000. I picked it up. I didn't open it. I held it and I looked at her. "Thank you," I said. "I'm sorry it came to this, Maya. You've been a good employee. I hope you understand." I understood perfectly. I walked back to my desk. Elena looked up at me from her monitor. She knew before I said anything. Her eyes went wide and she started to stand, but I shook my head. "It's fine," I said, and I sat down and opened my laptop. I pulled up my personal email. I typed Carol's address, and I wrote nothing in the subject line, nothing in the body, just a single link, a link to a folder titled Project Phoenix, Original Files. I hit send. Then I packed my desk, a framed photo. A plant Elena gave me 2 years ago. The little ceramic mug I kept my pens in. I put it all in a cardboard box. And I looked at my screen one last time. The email sat in my sent folder with no explanation, no goodbye, no threat, just the link. And I walked out. I passed Carol's office. She was on the phone. She didn't look up. I walked past Dana's new corner office. She was laughing at something on her computer. She didn't look up either. I got to the elevator. Elena rushed out from the design wing. Her eyes were wet. "Maya," she said. "Call me tonight," I said, and I smiled. "It's about to get interesting." The elevator doors closed. I drove home, and I sat in my car in the driveway, staring at the house I might not be able to afford for much longer. And I smiled, because I had sent Carol the link, because she had no idea what was in it, because when she opened it, she was going to see the truth. Every draft, every timestamp, every version of Project Phoenix that had my name on it. She was going to see the project born on September 9th. She was going to see it evolve for 6 months with my fingerprints all over it. And she was going to see Dana's contribution, a single save. March 14th at 11:47 at night, a cut and paste job, and a message sent at 7:58 the next morning, claiming it was hers. I didn't know when Carol would open it. I didn't know what she would do. But I knew one thing for sure by the time I got out of the car. She was going to open it. The call came at 11 minutes past 8. Dana Whitfield, still in her yoga pants and holding a green smoothie, answered her phone. I watched from my kitchen window, coffee in hand, as she stumbled out her front door and drove off. The smoothie stayed on the porch. I didn't have to be there to know what was happening. I'd set my own alarm for 7 that morning, and by 7:45 I was already sitting in my car outside the Brightline Creative Building, not to go in, to watch, to be close enough that when the walls came down, I'd feel the ground shake. Elena texted me at 9:14. 2 words. She opened it. I didn't respond. I just got out of my car and walked across the street to the coffee shop with the orange awning. I ordered black with 2 sugars, out of habit. And I sat by the window, facing Brightline's glass doors, and I waited. Later that night, Elena told me the rest, piece by piece. She was there, front row, which means I can tell you exactly how it went down. Carol walked into the all-hands meeting at 9 o'clock sharp. She wasn't carrying her usual tablet, just a laptop. She set it down on the conference table and plugged in the projector cable. No coffee, no agenda, Nothing but a thin smile. The whole team was there. 38 people squeezed into a room meant for 25. Dana sat near the front, beaming, wearing a new blazer she probably bought to celebrate her promotion. She thought this was a kickoff meeting for the Nexatech project. She thought she was being crowned again. Carol clicked once. The screen lit up. Project Phoenix, the title read, Original Files. The folder I'd compiled the night before. The folder with every draft, every timestamp, every version of the work I'd done for months. Dana's smile didn't drop. Not yet. She probably thought Carol was just showing off the final deck, a little celebration for the team. Then Carol said 4 words. I have some questions. She clicked again. The first version appeared. September 9th, 11:03 in the morning. My initials in the bottom corner. M.H. This was the seed, Carol said. The initial concept. She clicked. September 12th. Version 2. M.H. again. September 14th. Version 3. She went through them, one by one. Slow. Deliberate. Each file with my name on it, each timestamp showing weeks becoming months. It took 5 minutes just to get through the first 10 versions. Nobody in that room said a word. 20 minutes in, she reached version 12. Then 13. Then 14. March 14, Carol said. 11:47 at night? She paused. The next click filled the screen. V15, a file I'd never seen before. The same deck, the same slide design, the same strategy. The only difference was the name on the title slide, DW, Dana Whitfield. Dana's smoothie sat untouched on the table in front of her. Her face had gone the color of a blank page. This version, Carol said, was saved at 11:47 p.m. on March 14th. 11 minutes later, at 7:58 in the morning, it was sent to my inbox with a message saying it was finished. She turned from the screen to face Dana. Dana? Did you pull an all-nighter? Dana started talking, fast, too fast. She said she'd built the deck over the weekend. She said she'd been working with me. She said I gave her the file to review and she polished it. She said, Maya's been struggling lately. Elena told me the room went so quiet you could hear the projector fan. 38 people not blinking. 1 click. April 3rd. Version 10 on the shared drive. My name on every historical record. Then 20 seconds later, Dana's username appeared. Opened the file. Copied it. Saved a new version with her name on it. You want to try again? Carol asked. She was calm. Almost gentle. Dana stammered. And here's what she said. What she really said. She said, I should have told you. I knew the work was hers. But she wasn't doing anything with it. It was just sitting there. Silence. Just sitting there. 6 months of night work. 6 months of redesigning a strategy from scratch because the first 3 versions failed client review. 6 months of building trust with the Nexatech team, and she reduced it to something that was just sitting there. Carol looked at Dana for a long moment. Then she closed the laptop. Clean out your desk, she said. Security will walk you out. Dana opened her mouth, but Carol held up a hand. You're here at 8 o'clock on a Monday telling me you pulled an all-nighter when you didn't. You sent me someone else's work and called it yours. And on the only file in that entire folder with your name on it, the timestamp says it took you 4 minutes. She paused. That's not strategy. That's theft. And that was it. Dana stood there, her smoothie still in her hand. Emily from HR came in. 2 security guards from the front desk followed. Dana walked out the glass doors at 9:42 in the morning on a Tuesday, carrying a cardboard box with her reusable water bottle and a framed photo of her dog. I was in the coffee shop across the street with a view of the exit. I watched her load the box into her car. I watched her drive away without looking back at the building. Elena texted me again. She's gone. Then, a minute later, card says, check your inbox. So I did, on my phone, right there at the little table by the window. A new email from Carol Jennings. Subject line, I owe you an apology. I didn't open it. Not yet. I just sat there, watching the Brightline building, thinking about the second folder. The one I'd sent to the Nexatech client the same day I handed Carol her copy. Because Carol was never the only one who'd get to see the truth. I was still sitting in the coffee shop when my phone rang. The screen lit up with a number I didn't recognize. Area code 512, but not Brightline, not anyone I knew. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something made me answer. Maybe it was the adrenaline. Maybe it was the sight of Dana's card disappearing around the corner. I swiped to accept. Ms. Hartley? Yes, this is Derek Okafor. I'm the VP of Brand at Nexitech. I sat up straighter. Derek Okafor was the client, the one whose rebranding I had poured every ounce of myself into for 6 months. He was also, presumably, the man who had just received my folder of evidence. Mr. Okafor, I know this is sudden, he said, but I watched the meeting this morning. I saw the presentation Carol put together, the timestamps, the version history. I didn't say anything. I just waited. I've been in this business for 20 years, he said. I've seen people take credit for work that wasn't theirs, but I have never, in all that time, seen someone document their own theft so thoroughly, so cleanly. Thank you, I said. Here's the thing, Maya. His voice shifted, more serious, more intentional. When I signed with Brightline, I signed for their team, but the person whose work convinced me to sign was you. I didn't know it at the time, but now I do. I held my breath. So I'm calling to ask you, he said, do you want to lead this rebranding on your own? The question hung in the air. I could hear the espresso machine hissing in the background. The barista called out a name I didn't catch. I'm serious, he said. I'll void the contract with Brightline. I'll write a new one, direct with you. $250,000. $250,000. My mind did the math. That was nearly 3 times my salary at Brightline. That was serious. That was real. Why? I asked. Why would you take that risk? Because I watched a woman get fired for doing her job right, he said. And I watched the person who fired her get exposed as a fool in front of her whole team. You didn't just do good work, Maya. You did honest work, and you proved it. That's the kind of partner I want. I closed my eyes. I saw Dana's face as she tried to blame me. I saw Carol's expression as she realized her mistake. I saw the office where I'd spent 6 years, all the late nights, all the careful documentation, all the work I had done believing it would be recognized. It had been recognized, just not by the people I expected. I accept, I said. He laughed, short and surprised. Just like that? I've been ready for this meeting for 6 months, I said. I just didn't know it would be with you. We talked for another 20 minutes. Logistics, timelines, deliverables. He sent me a contract by the end of the day. I signed it at my kitchen table that night at 9:37 with a pen I'd stolen from the Brightline supply closet a year earlier. It felt right. The next morning, I opened a business bank account with my $12,000 severance and $20,000 from my savings. That gave me $32,000. I put the other $18,000 from savings in as a cushion for the first few months, $50,000 total, enough to rent a small office, buy equipment, get started. Then I did the phone calls. Elena answered on the second ring. Maya, I was hoping you'd call. I'm starting my own firm, I said, building the Nexitech rebrand independent from Brightline. I have the contract. I have the client. I need a senior designer. You need me, she said. I need you. I'm in. That was it. No negotiation, no hesitation. She'd given me a plant 2 years ago, and she'd cried when I packed my desk a week ago. She was the kind of loyal you couldn't buy. My second phone call was to Ryan, a data strategist I'd worked with on 3 major pitches. He'd seen me get sidelined. He'd seen Dana take credit. He'd quietly switched his email signature to include Project Phoenix, Strategy by Maya, 6 days before I was fired. I noticed. I never mentioned it, but I noticed. Ryan, I said, you still looking for something new? Was waiting for you to ask, he said. Office space is on Koenig Lane, I said. Starts next month. I need you on Nexitech. I'll be there. 3 calls, 48 hours. And just like that, I had a firm. Maya Hartley strategy. No corporate bureaucracy. No Carol looking over my shoulder. No. Dana in the next cubicle pretending to work. The client contract was for $250,000. My startup costs were $50,000. That left me $200,000 to pay salaries, overhead, and still keep the lights on. But numbers weren't the victory. The victory was this. I walked out of Brightline carrying a cardboard box of my things. And 1 week later, I walked into my own office with a client they had lost, a client they had never deserved. The Nexitech rebrand launched in October. It won 2 industry awards. Ryan, Elena, and I celebrated at a barbecue joint on South Congress, And Elena raised a glass of sweet tea. To documentation, she said. To documentation, I said. We clinked glasses. Nobody mentioned Dana. Nobody mentioned Carol, because they didn't matter anymore. I checked my email that night before bed. There was a message from a law firm. Subject line, Whitfield v. Brightline Creative et al. Dana was suing. I read the first paragraph. Wrongful termination, defamation, emotional distress. She was asking for $500,000. She was blaming Brightline for making an example of her. She was blaming me for ruining her career. I closed the laptop, took a breath. She had no idea what was coming. The lawyer's name was Harold Vance. He had a voice like gravel and a filing system I could respect. He called me on a Thursday afternoon in April. Dana Whitfield is suing Brightline Creative, he said, and you, personally. I know, I said. She's claiming emotional distress, defamation. She wants $500,000. She can want whatever she wants. Harold laughed. It sounded like a door hinge. I've seen the folder you put together, Miss Hartley, the one with the audit trail, the one with every version of Project Phoenix leading back to your name. Honestly, you could have been a lawyer. Thank you, I said. I'd rather be a project manager. The lawsuit dragged on through May, then June. Dana's lawyers demanded depositions. I gave one. I sat in a conference room downtown with a court reporter and a pitcher of water that tasted like the plastic cup it came in. Dana's lawyer asked me if I had ever sabotaged her work. No, I said. I never touched her work. She touched mine. He asked me how I could prove that. I pulled out the folder, not the original, a printed copy, page after page of version history. September 9th, September 12th, September 14th, every save with my initials attached, then Dana's tiny footprint. March 14th at 11,047 at night, 20 seconds of copying, nothing more. Her name appears on this project exactly once, I said, and it wasn't on the work, it was on the theft. The lawyer went quiet. I sipped the plastic-tasting water. Harold called me on June 30th to deliver the news. The judge had dismissed the case with prejudice. Dana's suit collapsed faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. The evidence was so thorough, so time-stamped, so airtight, that even her own lawyers asked to be released from the case. I later learned they told her, in no uncertain terms, that pursuing the claim would be malpractice. I didn't gloat. I didn't have to. The records did all the gloating for me. I went back to work that afternoon. My firm now occupied a sunny space on Koenig Lane, my name on the door. Elena's design studio in the back. Ryan's data team in the conference room. The Nexitech rebrand had launched in October and doubled the client's engagement numbers within a quarter. Derek Okafor sent a handwritten note. I framed it. Then September came. I was at my desk, reviewing a pitch for a hotel chain, when an email landed in my inbox. The sender, Carol Jennings. The subject line, a thought. Actually, let me read it again in my head. She was reaching out, exactly as I'd suspected she would. Months of silence. Then suddenly, she had 13 employees, senior staff who respected her, a growing client roster, and an embarrassing hole in her strategy department. She asked if I might be open to a conversation. Not from Brightline, from Carol personally. She was leaving her role, starting her own consultancy, and wondered if I'd be interested in a partnership. Equal partners. She mentioned that twice. I read the email 3 times. I felt the old anger flicker somewhere in my chest. Carol Jennings. The woman who told me my performance had been slipping. Who promoted Dana to senior strategy lead while firing me for restructuring. Who opened my folder only after her mistake was already made. But I wasn't angry anymore. That was the thing. I was free. I wrote back, short and polite. Thank you for thinking of me. I'm building something of my own. I'll have to pass. But I did want to leave you with one thought. Sometimes the best revenge is a well-documented paper trail. Best, Maya. I hit send. I didn't wait for a reply. At 6 that evening, I stood at the window of my office and watched the sky turn orange over Austin. Elena walked in with 2 cups of coffee, black with 2 sugars. She set one on my desk. You hear from Carol? She asked. I heard from Carol, I said. And? I picked up the coffee. Steam rose off the surface. I looked at the framed paper on the wall, the one with my name and my title, the one that used to sit in a cardboard box in my apartment. All that pain, all that paperwork, all that waiting. Dana's not your problem anymore, she said. I shook my head. Poor Dana. She got the best lesson in documentation she'll ever get, and she didn't have to pay for it with anything but her career. Elena laughed. You're ruthless. I'm thorough, I said. There's a difference. She raised her cup. To thorough. I raised mine. The windows tinted gold in the evening light. 6 months ago, I was packing a coffee mug into a box. Now I was building something permanent. Not because I had burned anyone down, because I kept the receipts. That's the quiet truth they don't tell you in those corny motivational posters. It isn't the loudest voice that wins. It's the paper trail. The truth surfaces. Even when you've stopped waiting for it, sometimes you just have to keep the proof and wait for the world to catch up. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe for more true stories about integrity, betrayal, and the long, patient art of keeping receipts.